Pub Pro. Dual Cultivation, WN, Chapter 59. Behind the Glass Wall. The young lady stood behind Su Yang with her hands clasped tightly together, looking like a nervous child waiting to be scolded. But despite her embarrassment, her eyes did not waver, and she continued to stare at his face with a firm expression on her reddened face. In her 20 years of life, this is her first time acting so bold. "What is your name?" Su Yang suddenly asked her. "Zhang Shu Ying, Burning Lotus Palace's outer court disciple," she replied. "You are a disciple of the sect that owns this place?" Su Yang was pleasantly surprised to learn of this information. Almost everyone working here today is from the Burning Lotus Palace, with most of us being outer court disciples. It is an annual thing and disciples get selected randomly for the task. Was your sect elder, Madame Wang, also randomly selected to come here today? No, Elder Wang is a permanent personnel here, so she will appear here every year. Su Yang nodded. "Thank you for the information. As for your services, I do not need them, nor will I request for them from you." The moment Zhang Shu Ying heard this, her heart somewhat plummeted. To think that even after throwing away all of her shame and pride, she was still turned away, not to mention this was also her first time doing the courting. However, as tears began to appear in Zhang Shu Ying's eyes, Su Yang continued to speak. "Though, if you still wish to serve me, I will not stop you," he said in a calm voice. Huh? Zhang Shu Ying seemed dazed for a second, as her mind could not comprehend his words fast enough for any reaction. Su Yang did not say anything else and continued to watch the people from the glass wall from above. The room quickly became quiet. After a few more moments of silence, Zhang Shu Ying suddenly moved. She slowly walked to stand in front of Su Yang, blocking his view. "Please excuse me, esteemed guest." Her figure slowly lowered until she was kneeling before Su Yang, right in front of his crotch area. She moved her hands toward the robe sash around Su Yang's waist and proceeded to untie it. While Zhang Shu Ying undressed the lower part of his robes, Su Yang remained unmoving, his gaze still at the auction room beyond the glass wall, looking as though he wasn't even aware of Zhang Shu Ying's movements. When Zhang Shu Ying lowered his pants enough, her eyes widened from shock by the sight of his sleeping brother. This is what a man's nether region looks like," she said to herself inside her head as her trembling hands slowly approached the sleeping dragon. Upon feeling the warmth from Su Yang's penis, Zhang Shu Ying began caressing it, as she didn't know what else to do. But why isn't it erect? Is he not feeling any excitement from this kind of situation? After thinking for a while, she decided to put it in her mouth. The moment Su Yang's unawakened beast entered Zhang Shu Ying's mouth and felt the tenderness of her tongue, it began growing in size. So big. The sudden growth startled Zhang Shu Ying, whose small mouth was barely big enough to fit Su Yang's awakened dragon. However, despite the awkward feeling of having a man's penis in her mouth for the first time in her life, her body began feeling aroused. Zhang Shu Ying began to slowly move her head back and forth a few seconds later, creating faint vulgar noises in the background. It was at this moment the lights in the auction room dimmed, and Wang Shuren appeared on the stage, stunning the crowd with her bewitching beauty. Welcome to the Burning Lotus Auction House's 156th opening. Normally, one of the auction house's servants would be doing the auction after my welcoming speech, but I have decided to change it up for this year by being the one to stand on the stage today, she said with a bright smile on her face, causing the audience to scream from excitement. As the crowd roared loudly, Wang Shuren glanced at the VIP guest room that was slightly above them. As always, we have many exciting and valuable things to be auctioned off today. But before we start, I'd like to give a shout out to the esteemed guest who is currently residing within that room right there. Wang Shuren casually guided the audience's gazes towards the VIP room, where Su Yang was getting his sword cleaned by Zhang Shu Ying. Luckily for the two, the glass wall was blacked out and looked like a room without any lights to the audience, so they weren't able to see the spectacular scene currently happening inside. But if they knew that they were actually looking at a man feeding cream soup to a woman with his extra-large straw, then they would surely be shocked out of their minds. As for Wang Shuren, she might even go crazy. But fortunately for both parties, that was not the case. Meanwhile, inside the VIP room, Zhang Shu Ying's movements suddenly froze with cold sweat all over her body when she heard Wang Shuren's unexpected shout-out. And upon feeling many gazes looking at her direction, her heart nearly exploded from anxiety in addition to her guilt. However, a few moments later, when she finally remembered how they couldn't see what she was doing, she began moving her head again and continued sucking Su Yang's personal straw as if nothing happened, slowly becoming more addicted to the sweet taste in her mouth.